StrayAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you're expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is you go get an energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is we are starting a new series. This is going to be a 5-part series on how to build relationships in business. Before we get started, remind you of 2 things. First of all, daily motivation, Monday motivation message, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point, start your day, your week, respectively. Text me at my number 305-384-6894. Once we start sending those messages out again, you'll be getting them straight to your phone. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. You want to get direct access to all of our best trainings, courses, and direct access to me as your coach. The only way that happens is as with you as a member of Work on Your Game University. The way you access the university is by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link is down below in the description. Also, if you want to have me as your direct coach, that's the place where it happens. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. With all that out the way, let's get into the topic here, which is how to build relationships in business. Now, since we are in the era of collaboration, this is something that I talk about a lot. I was actually just recording with my guy, Brandon, who's based out in Kansas. And we were talking about collaboration. I was recording for his podcast just before I turned on the mic to record this for my show. And we were talking about collaboration, and you understand that your ability in collaboration, that is, to build, leverage, and maintain and exploit relationships in a positive way, this is paramount to business, especially in the world that we're in today, because this is the era of working with others, not just doing everything on your own. So over this 5-part series, I'm going to explain to you how you can get better at building relationships in business, which will help you to get more done faster and easier than all the knowledge and hard work you could ever do by yourself. This is important for those of you who are looking to build your business internally, meaning getting the right people on the bus, i.e. your team members, your staff, the people who you work with who can, let's say, take care of things on your behalf so you don't have to take care of them. For example, if you don't like editing video, can you get the right people on your team who can edit video? If you don't like running ad campaigns, can you get the right people on your team who know how to run ad campaigns? If you don't like designing funnels or writing sales copy or sending emails, can you get the right people around you who can do that? And can you build the right relationships to where they know you, like you, and trust you, and they understand you well enough that they can do what you want them to do at a high level so that you don't have to do it, and maybe because you can't do it, because you don't have the skills that they have. That's the internal side. Then on the external side, can you build the right relationships that will allow you to build your business more, i.e. make more sales, have more customers, have more clients? So this is the internal and the external parts of building relationships are all valuable. And over this 5-part series, I'm going to explain to you how you can start doing this starting today, right where you stand. Point number 1, topic once again, is how to build relationships in business. Again, this is the first of a 5-part series. Number 1, quality over quantity. This is a mindset. It is better to have 5 really good, solid relationships with people who are already really about something than to have 50 surface level relationships with people who aren't really doing anything that would benefit you, and maybe you're not doing much that could benefit them. But if it's not a mutually beneficial relationship, you don't need 50 of those. It's better to have 5 ones that are really, really useful. So while it is nice to know a whole lot of people, I'm not telling you just shun people and don't talk to them if they can't help you. As long as they are positive people, there's not really a downside to knowing more individuals. So know as many people as you want. At the same time, there is a limit that you have, which is known as your time. There's only so much time you can give to your relationships. Therefore, since relationships require time to be built, the more time you give to a relationship that cannot help you, the less time you have to give to one that can help you. So you need to be selective about which relationships you are building and why you are building those relationships. And there needs to be a value exchange on both sides of the equation for both people to make it make sense for them. So it needs to make sense for the other person. They're getting something that is useful for them. It needs to make sense for you. You're getting something out of this relationship that is useful for you. And some of you may hear this and think, well, isn't that kind of selfish, just thinking about what you can get out of a relationship? Are you making it transactional? No, this is not selfish. And secondly, no, it is not transactional, even though there may be transactions, because we are talking about business. And if there are no transactions happening, then you're not doing business. So some of your relationships, you may be doing transactions, but I don't call them transactional, because when you're in a solid relationship with another person, there may be times where they need something and you do it and you're not getting anything back for it. But then there may be a later time when it's flip side. you need something and they do it and they're not getting something back for it, but you're not keeping score in that way. If you have a solid relationship, you can call on people for things and they can call on you, and you two can benefit each other in other ways as well. Sometimes it's just simple exchange of information. Sometimes it's just exchange of contacts. I have friends who live in California who will reach out to me and say, "Hey, Dre, I just heard that a couple of friends that I know from out here in California just moved over there to Miami. You should meet them, and all of you should know each other, and then all of us can be friends." And that's happened. And I will do the same when I know some people who are headed out their way to California. Hey, you need to meet these people because I know them from over here in Miami, and they're over in your place. So this kind of stuff happens all the time. Sometimes I just have access to information. There's plenty of software, for example, that I've been using that I know could help other people. So when I see what they're doing, I'm like, man, you could probably use this software that I'm using. I pass the plug, as we say. The plug is just the information or the access to that information that I knew about. Now they're using it. Now they're getting benefits from it. The person I was just talking to today said, Dre, I'm so glad you told me about that technology that I wasn't using before. Now I'm using it, and it's amazing. It's doing so much stuff for me. It took so much time off my hands. So relationships are just about you being able to help another person, them being able to help you, and you both seeing each other as high quality people that even if they can't offer you anything right now, it is worth it to know that person. It's worth it for them to know you because, again, let's remember the law of association. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with, and whoever you're associated with, you learn who their associations are. Now, you get into their circle because you know them. So being around the right people is really valuable, even if there's nothing tangible or direct that you're getting from the situation. One solid relationship, ladies and gentlemen, with the right person can make all the difference in your career or in your business. And some of you can think of times in your life, I can tell you many in my own life, when one solid relationship with the right person opened the floodgates for everything else that ended up happening for me. When I wanted to play basketball professionally, I knew the first thing I needed to get was a solid relationship with an agent who was basically going to be the person who could connect me to teams overseas outside of the USA who would be interested in signing me to a contract. That's how I started my career. When I wanted to get into, in my transition out of sports into the professional world, I guess, of thought leadership, I met one person who was already a professional speaker, already an author, and already out there doing consulting and coaching, who was willing to share with me and show me the ropes of everything that I needed to know and put in place if I wanted to build a business on my own, which I've done to this point. And in exchange, I was, first of all, putting their information to use, was proved that it was useful. And secondly, they wanted some help with building up their brand on the internet. Because while they were known by not the salespeople, but the check writers in the industry, they weren't really known on the internet. They weren't really like known by the everyday internet user. And I was. They wanted to know how I did it. And if I could help them with that, they could help me with my thing. And it became a mutually beneficial relationship. So when you have those solid relationships, folks, it opens the door for everything else. And this is why you want to keep trying to build more solid relationships. Point number 2, today's topic, once again, is how to build relationships in business. Number 2, be authentic. You do not want to build a relationship based on fakeness. You want to be authentic. Be real as to who you are and what you're about. When someone finds out that you presented yourself as someone that you truly are not, well, first of all, that you're probably going to have killed the relationship. And now you have built negative equity with that person, which means it's like the opposite of positive equity. So they don't have positive stories about you. You got negative stories about you. And they might share one of those negative stories with other people, which further taints your name out in the marketplace. So that's a bad thing for you, right? I think you can guess that. So being authentic, being who you truly are, and representing yourself as you are, the people who truly connect with that will connect with you. And if there are some people who don't connect with that and it's just not their thing, that's completely fine. You don't need everybody to like you. You don't need everyone to go along with you. The people who will connect with the true you are out there. They do exist, and they are looking for you. In the world that we're in today, where everyone is trying to be politically correct and not offend anyone, there are people out there waiting to hear someone just be authentic, to say how they feel and say who they are, even if it means that some people don't like it and some feathers are ruffled because of it, because people are just taking offense to the situation. Any opinion or perspective that you hold, assuming it is within some level of reason, understand that there are a bunch of people out there who share that opinion. And they're just waiting for someone like you to express that opinion out loud, or to hold that stance out loud, or to represent that thing or idea or whatever it is out loud, because they'll finally say, damn, at least somebody finally said it. I've been thinking that for a long time. I'm glad you finally said it. How many of you, if you happen to be an outspoken individual, how many times have you had somebody say that to you? I've had people say that to me a lot of times. I'm the type of person who will say something whether it's in person, whether it's online, whatever the situation. I'm the type of person who will say something when there's an elephant in the room, so to speak, that nobody is addressing. I remember once I was in Whole Foods. This is in South Beach, Miami Beach. And I'm in the produce section. And any of you been in the Whole Foods in Miami Beach, the South Beach one, it's, as of this recording, there's only one of them there. So I'm in the produce section. It's a very tight store. So it's hard to even navigate your shopping cart through the aisles because it's so damn tight. You can't get two shopping carts down the aisle at the same time. That's how narrow the store is. So in this section, I'm looking at like bananas or something like that. And this white guy, he was probably even 10, 15 years older than me, but just as tall as me. He walks right in front of me. And because the store is so small, he brushed past me. Like his body made physical contact with my body, and he didn't even acknowledge me or even say excuse me or anything like that. And I pushed him. And I said, yo, dude, you just walked past me. Do you not see me standing here? Say excuse me. He turned around and we faced off, and we had words that didn't come to physical blows. But I addressed him and said, dude, you can't just walk past me, make physical contact with me, and not say excuse me. I come from an era where you couldn't do that. You can get yourself in serious trouble doing that with the wrong person. And after the situation died down, the guy walked off and went to another part of the store. One of the Whole Foods employees, he had saw the whole thing. He had been standing like further down the aisle putting stuff on the shelf. And when I walked past him, he looked at me with a smile on his face and said, man, it's about time somebody says something about that. Because I think he's probably from the same place that I'm from, where the environment that I come from, you walk past somebody, bump into them, and don't say excuse me, you can get yourself killed or severely hurt doing something like that. So when I called that guy out, I guess the employee, maybe as an employee, he has to abide by a certain code, but he knew that I didn't, and he appreciated the fact that I had said something. Some of you listen to the show. Maybe you have heard me say something on the show that you have been thinking about, or maybe talking to your people your associates with in private, but you hadn't heard anybody say it out loud, or you hadn't heard anyone say it the way that I said it, and you appreciated the fact that I just said it out loud because it's been on your mind the whole time. Maybe in your environment, it wouldn't make sense for you to say it, but you appreciate the fact that I said it. This is what I mean by being authentic, just keeping it real and being who you are. And there are people who hear things that I say that say, oh, this guy's a complete jerk. He's an idiot. Fuck Dre Baldwin. I don't want to listen to anything he has to say. There are people who do have that opinion. And there are other people who, because some people have that opinion, they appreciate the fact that I have the opinion because they like it. They have the same opinion. And the good thing about opinions is we don't all have to agree. Because if we all agreed, they wouldn't be opinions. So there are people out there who are waiting for someone like you to come out and say, do, represent what they wish they could say, do, or represent, but they're not. Any opinion or perspective you hold, assuming it's within a level of reason, all right, somebody wants to hear it. All right, you can be that person to say it so everybody else can say, thank you, finally. And you will see that others who had otherwise been quiet will come out of the woodwork and appreciate you for saying what they've been thinking. All right, this is part of your authenticity. Now, again, this is not what all of you need to do. This may not be an angle for everyone. Not everyone has this type of personality. I do. I will say these things out loud. I have a platform to say these things out loud, and I think I'm pretty good at putting my words together and explaining why I'm saying these things out loud, even if you disagree. But this is part of creating the right relationships. It's not about trying to be cool with everybody. It's about being authentically who you are, even if that means some people won't like you at all. But again, that pulls other people in. That us versus them dynamic is a real thing. People like being a part of something that not everybody is, can be, or wants to be a part of. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to build relationships in business. First part of a 5-part series. Number 3, listen more than you speak. Relationships do require time, but that doesn't mean it has to be a lot of time. But it does mean it needs to be quality time. And the best way to build a quality relationship with anyone is to let them talk and you actively listen. I was just having a conversation with a member of our university recently. He's a gentleman, and he is in a long-term relationship with his significant other, a female. And one of the things I was explaining to him, because we were talking about his schedule, his daily schedule, his life schedule. How can we make this fit and this fit based on the time that you have? You got to go to work at this time, and you got your business stuff at this time, and you want to do these things and these things. How do you make all this fit within the framework of your day? And I said, maybe you could take that time that you're spending with your significant other, and maybe it doesn't have to be this big of a chunk of time. Maybe it can be a smaller chunk so that you can get to other things earlier. But at the same time, I warned him, as the male I'm talking to, we were talking about his significant other who's a female. I said, I warned him that if your significant other is okay with you reducing this time that you two are spending together, understand it must be quality time. Meaning you need to be fully attentive, not doing anything else, and giving your full attention to her during that time period, because the quality of the time will make up for the lack of quantity. And it's the same thing I'm saying to you. When it comes to building relationships, the quality of the engagement you have with the people you have relationships with is more important than the quality of engagement. I mean, quantity rather of engagements. Meaning you don't have to text this person every day. As long as y'all, when you do talk, there's a valuable conversation that makes you valuable to them and them valuable to you. Whenever there is an exchange, it's fine. Like I have people who I have quality relationships with who I haven't spoken to in months or weeks. But when we do see each other, we have a quality exchange. So it's completely fine if we go 3 months without talking. And that's why you got to just maintain your relationships with quality time. It doesn't have to be a huge quantity of time. So the best way to do this, building any relationship with any human being, is to let them talk. Listen and be an active listener. Why is this and why am I so sure of this? Is because everybody has things to say. Everybody has things on their mind. The problem is most people don't listen. The reason why so many people have so many things to say and so many things on their mind is because they never engage with someone who is attentive enough and active enough to actually listen to you while you talk, because everybody is waiting for their opportunity to speak. So if you can be the person who actually listens, people will love you just because you're listening and nobody else is listening. Simple as that. It's a magic formula. Most people are poor communicators, both in the speaking side and most importantly on the listening side. Remember that listening is part of communication as well. You can serve a person at a very high level by simply asking them questions and letting them talk and listening. Let me say that again. You can serve other people at a very high level by simply asking questions, letting them talk, and actively listening. 1, 2, 3. You can do those 3 things all in one package. You can make yourself very valuable to another person. This is what therapists do. They ask questions, let you talk, and they listen. That's it. Right? You want to be a therapist, I just told you how to do it. Since most people don't listen, when you finally offer someone an ear and actually listen to them, they will appreciate you a lot. By the law of contrast, you're doing something that most human beings don't do. And you have done something that never happens. All right? Nobody ever just sits and just listens to what I said. And this is the first step for any of you in getting better at building a relationship. And by the way, you can use this with any person in your life. You can use this with your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your kids, your friends, your coworkers, your bosses, your employees. Just ask questions and listen. And you'll start to notice that people really appreciate the fact that you listened, because again, it's a rare occurrence these days. Let's recap today's class, which says how to build relationships. Again, it's the first part of a 5-part series. Relationships being everything in life, period, especially in business. Point number 1, quality over quantity. You're better off having 5 quality relationships than 50 surface level relationships. Number 2, be authentic. Be honest about who you are, what you're about, and where you stand. The people who are aligned with that will come and find you, and the people who are not aligned, they will leave, and that's completely fine. And number 3, listen more than you speak. Get good at listening, asking open-ended questions, and simply actively listening to other people and letting them talk. Why? Because nobody else ever does it, so you don't even have to be that great at it. Just the fact that you're willing makes you stand out from everybody else out there, which means you have an opportunity to build a quality relationship. And this applies just as much to a high-level individual as it does to an average person. Nobody listens to anybody these days, no matter who they are. So with all that said, tomorrow we'll get into part 2 of the series. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. You want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. All these things that we talk about here on the show and more in depth specifically apply to you and your situation. WorkOnYourGameUniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all